Here is my recap on Dexter Season 8, Episode 6, which is entitled A Little Reflection. All right, so things are definitely starting to heat up, and the end of this episode had a big reveal. So I'm going to definitely leave that to the end of the review here, the recap. But we pick up with Dexter basically having mended his relationship with Deborah after the events of the last episode, where they caught that guy that had been stalking Dr. Vogel, and they've kind of mended things and are, they start out this actual episode where they're having a steak dinner together that's pretty disgusting. They do make the comment that they're surprised that things are starting to get back to normal, but they understand this is just the beginning. But lots of revelations from last episode. Now, we've got some small story threads going first. Let's talk about those. We have Masuka, who did look into his daughter at the very beginning of this episode. You find out he looked into her and sees that she does have some money issues, and he's afraid that that's what she's there for. Now, Deborah gives him some instruction like, do you like having her around? He says, yeah. Then run with it and enjoy her company. Don't worry about her money issues. She may never even bring it up. Well, he actually brings it up later and actually cuts her a check for $5,000 and says, I know that you've got some issues and I wanted to help you out. She goes, how do you know? And he says, well, I looked into your past. What's going on? She goes, you were spying on me? He goes, not spying. I was just making sure you were who you said you were. And you looked into my financials? And he's like, yeah, and I saw that you could use some help. She goes, that's not why I'm here. I really wanted to get to know you. And this is an invasion of privacy. And she got really pissed off and said, I am not accepting this money. She goes, you don't understand that I am taking responsibility for my issues. And all of this is going to be taken care of here very shortly without your help. She goes, I do not appreciate this at all. And she took off. We've got that little storyline. We also have the storyline with Quinn getting promoted to, sergeant. In this episode, you actually had Batista decides to go with the girl that the boss recommended because on paper she does have more qualifications. Now, his boss said, we'd like her not only because of her qualifications, but because she's black and she's a woman. Those would be great things to promote with. Now, the kind of catalyst for this episode, which is interesting, is we have this young boy. He was briefly in the last episode where his father was, suspected of murder, but was not the one who caused the murder of this I think it was a housekeeper. Dexter thinks it's the young boy. Well, not young boy, but the son. He's not young. He looks like he might be in his early 20s or late teens. It might be the guy's son that killed this woman. So he starts to investigate this boy in this episode. He starts showing up at a lot of the crime scenes where people are showing up dead, taking pictures, and Dexter notices this and starts following him. Well, at one point during the episode, he actually goes to Dr. Vogel's house, and Dexter is shocked. Goes to Dr. Vogel after the boy leaves and says, I noticed that he was here. What is going on? And she said, well, I'm actually seeing him. Dexter says, you do understand that he could be a killer. She says, well, his father brought him to me because of his tendencies, and I'm here trying to help him. Dexter says, I really have the suspicion that he murdered this woman, which means I'm going to have to take him out. Vogel says, please, if you get the proof, come to me before you do anything with the boy. Please come see me first. Make me that promise. So he does. Well, Dexter does find out later. He gets definitive proof that the boy did kill this girl and that he's going to be killing again. He's actually got his eye on this other girl. Goes to Vogel, and Vogel admits, yeah, I knew this from day one. He told me in the second session that he killed this woman and that he's a lot like you. She goes, my goal is to train him the way I trained you. And Dexter thinks that's asinine. He doesn't want to go down that road and doesn't think it's a good idea for her to even go down this road with this boy and train anybody new. Dexter decides to go and take him out on his own. Notices that the boy does end up buying a car so that his car won't be tied to the crime scene. And he follows the boy and notices also that Quinn is on the tail of the boy. So what he does is he calls Quinn's girlfriend, and who's his nanny, and says, look, Quinn is really upset that he didn't get the sergeant's job. He's afraid that you're going to break up with him because of this. She says, that's not the case. I would never do that. Dexter's like, well, give him a call, have him come over, I think he really needs to be with somebody. And that's what he does. He has her calls him away. Now, at that same time, Dexter is there, and he goes to get the boy and does end up, well, before he takes him, this is interesting. He bypasses the girl. Dexter notices that the boy comes out of his car and doesn't come towards him, actually goes off because his father had just actually left. He was actually having a relationship with this girl that the boy was stalking, and Dexter was surprised to see that. And the son doesn't go after the girl, actually goes after the father and was about to kill him. And that's when Dexter gets him in the neck with the stuff and pulls him behind the side of the building before the father could see. Well, just then, Quinn drives up. It was crazy. Quinn drives up and says, "Dexter, I know what you're doing." And he's like, "What do you mean?" "Well, you're here trying to be detective." He goes, "Have fun with the boy. I got something else I got to take care of." So he drives off. Didn't see that Dexter had taken him. So Dexter thought he got caught. Actually gets the boy on the table and is about to kill him, and gets the boy to confess that, he killed the girl and he was going to kill his father because this was going to get it to all stop. He got tired of seeing his father destroy the family. And so he was about to take him out, and Dexter realizes, he can be trained the way I was trained. So he cuts him loose. And that's what we had with this that kind of storyline in this episode. It was very, very interesting. You see like they're going to pass the baton on to this boy, maybe him become the new Dexter since this was the final season. What's interesting, though, is at the very final scene, well, there's also another thing. There's another little storyline that you need to be aware of is Deborah is working with her boss. Her boss's sister has I don't know, I can't remember if it was her husband or her boyfriend, but she has suspicions that her boyfriend, we'll call him the boyfriend, her boyfriend is seeing somebody else or sleeping behind her back or cheating on her. Well, the head of this investigation company, it's his sister. So he enlists the help of Deborah to go undercover to find out if the boyfriend is actually cheating, and does find out that he is cheating, actually tries to get Deborah up to his room, but her boss comes in and decks the guy, because you can tell he cares about Deborah, but Deborah doesn't see him the same way. And so there was this weird dynamic there where you can tell that this guy really likes Deborah, but Deborah really doesn't like him, and it's Sean Patrick Flannery's character in this season. So let's talk about what happened in the very final episode. The very final episode is Dexter and Deborah at her house, and they're just kind of chilling out, having a drink, talking about how weird things have gotten and how things are getting back to normal. And all of a sudden, Deborah starts to get woozy and starts to pass out. And Dexter's like, what the crap? He goes over there to help her, and then he starts to pass out and gets really loopy. And who shows up? Hannah does through the door and says, "Dexter, do you remember me?" And that's how the episode ended. So we've got Hannah is back, and we're going to see what that leads to in these upcoming episodes. All right, that's halfway through the season. So we do have 6 more episodes in this season. Look for the next review to be up shortly. I want to make sure you guys have time to watch these before the premiere on November 7th of Season 9. We'll see you guys on the next recap.